did a little example of what it's like to have people walk by and just look at you. And maybe sometimes you feel a little lonely when they're walking by. Hey, Paula, have you ever been in a situation where you feel like people are just walking by and just looking at you and they don't say anything? Is that the kind of welcome you want? Have you ever felt kind of lonely and empty inside? Have you ever wanted somebody just to say, hello, how are you tonight? How are you today? But instead, they just walk by and stare at you and don't say anything? Sometimes, hey Michelle, sometimes that happens. Sometimes we're in a situation where people will just walk by and look at us and they don't even say hello. Even more, they don't even say, how are you doing? How's things going? Is there anything I can do to help you today? So sometimes we have to think about, how can we help people? Our story tonight comes from Acts. It's chapters 1 through 5, and it's also in John 15. And the title of the story is God Sends Help. And maybe, just maybe, you might be the help to somebody. Let's see how God helps these people. Jesus' friends and helpers huddled together in a stuffy upstairs room. Even though it was sunny outside, much like it was sunny today, the shutters were closed. The door was locked. Wait in Jerusalem, Jesus had told them. I'm going to send you a special present. God's power is going to come into you. God's Holy Spirit is coming. Now let's stop just a second. If God would tell you that, would you think, what? You want me to go to a locked room and just sit and wait? What if you were like claustrophobic or something? Would you be excited to have that happen? Probably not so much. But that's what God said to do, and that's what these people did. Wait in Jerusalem, they're going to wait. So here they were, waiting. Actually, mostly what they were doing was just being scared and hiding. Ha! You can't blame them. Their best friend had left. The important people and leaders were after them, and Jesus had given them a job they didn't know how to do. Does that sound familiar? Let's keep reading. As they waited, they were praying and remembering. Remembering how, from the beginning, God had been working out his secret rescue plan. Now, here's the picture of them in the room, waiting. The shutters were closed, the windows were closed, and they were scared. Suddenly, a strong wind filled the little room, whistling through the walls, rustling that straw on the floor. And there, on everyone's heads, shining in the gloom, were flickering flames, fire that didn't hurt or burn. What? And something more, inside, in their hearts, they felt a strange heat, almost as if all the coldness and hardness were melting away, as if their broken hearts were mending. And God was giving them brand new hearts, hearts that could work properly. So we have to remember, this is right after Jesus had been crucified on the cross. So they were really sad because their best friend, somebody they had worked with and walked with, you remember they'd been on fishing boats with them, they'd gone to all these towns with them, and all of a sudden he was gone. So he told them to go to this room and wait, and they did. So now, how it happened, they don't know. They didn't know, but they knew God's power had struck their hearts ablaze, and Jesus himself was coming to live inside them. They had seen Jesus go away, but now he was closer than he had ever been, inside their hearts. And this time, nothing could ever separate them, whispering the promise that would get rid of the poison and the terrible lie and the sickness in their hearts. God's wonderful promise to them. You are my child, and I love you. Make your home in me, as I make my home in you, Jesus had said. Could it be? Heaven was coming into their hearts? Well, here's the picture. They threw open the shutters. Sunlight flooded their room as love had flooded their hearts. And the little room was filled with happy noises, dancing feet, singing and laughing. They unlocked the door and surged out into the streets as if they had never been afraid. Peter spoke in a loud voice so everyone could hear. "Jesus died for you," he said, "because he loves you. But God made him alive again. He has rescued you." People stopped and listened. The words sank down deep into their hearts and worked like a medicine that makes you well, like the antidote to a deadly poison, like a kiss that wakes you from a deep sleep. "Stop running away from God," Peter said. "Run to him instead, so he can love you and make you free." And Peter told them the wonderful story of God's love. God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. How Jesus had come, all that had happened. And here he is running down the steps going to tell people. How exciting! There were lots of people from faraway countries in Jerusalem. They couldn't speak the same language, but as they listened to Peter, everyone could understand what he was saying in their own languages. Many people believed and became Jesus' new friends and helpers. And the wonderful news of Jesus spread like sparks from a fire to villages, towns, cities. Every day, more and more people believed. And so it was that the family of God's children, his special people, grew. And it was growing larger and larger and larger. And one man was watching. "I'll stop this," Saul said. But this was God's plan. And nothing in all the world would ever be able to stop it. So we started off the reading tonight with me kind of walking back and forth in front of the camera, just kind of looking at it, but not saying anything. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever felt like somebody's just walking by and they're not offering any kind of help? Have you ever felt alone and scared? Sure we have. That's a normal way to feel sometimes when we get overwhelmed, or if we're in unfamiliar territory where something's going on and we're not quite sure what's going to happen. We can get scared and feel alone, and we just start feeling like, what is happening? But notice how when God opened their hearts and filled them with that fiery love, they threw open the shutters and they weren't scared anymore. Have you ever told God, "I'm scared and I need you," and you felt his presence? That's exactly what happened to them. Think about how you can share that story of how God gives you strength, how he makes you courageous, how he makes you feel that you are worthy, because you are. You are loved by God, and he is willing to love you. You cannot run away from him. You cannot leave him. He is right there with you. You have to stop and turn around and say, "Here I am," much like he did for them. It started out kind of scary and lonely, but at the end, they were filled with the Spirit and they were ready to tell everybody about God's love. Are you ready to tell everybody about God's love? Are you ready to tell everybody about what God's done for you? Has he ever taken that fear away from you and made you feel fulfilled? That's a good story to tell somebody. If you ever think about just one time that you may feel alone or scared, or maybe you feel like somebody's saying something about you, you start praying, saying, "God, please help me. I know you're with me. I can't run from you. I can't turn from you. I want to turn and be with you and walk with you." Say that prayer. Let him know how much you need him, and he will show you how much he can provide. Wow, what a story. What a story. They lost their best friend. They were told to go to this room. It was dark and scary. And then the love of God just filled their hearts. Has that happened to you? Have you had a chance to ask Jesus to come into your heart? If you haven't, there's no better time than the present to tell God, "I need you. I love you. I want you to be in my heart. I want to serve you, Lord." Bam! And he will use you. Allow him to use you. You are amazing. You are always something beautiful and wonderful. God is waiting for you to show others His love, His grace, and His mercy. Thank you so much for giving me just a little bit of your evening tonight to share God's wonderful story about the upper room. And where was that found? Do you remember? I will tell you just in case you want to read more about it. It was found in, let me turn the page back, Acts chapter 1 through chapter 5 and John 15. And I want you to remember we left off with somebody saying, hey, I'm going to stop this. Let's see if he really gets a chance to stop it. I don't think he can, do you? I bet we find out tomorrow what happens to this gentleman named Saul. You may already know the story, but tune in tomorrow night and let's see if we think the story is true. Let's find out. Thank you for being with me tonight. I want you to remember this is Bedtime Bible Stories with Mrs. Jill, a part of the Bold Movement. We would love for you to check out theboldmovement.com. We have podcasts on there. We have verses that help you. We have Bible studies. We have all kinds of goodies that Megan keeps popping on there for you to learn and grow. Parents, ladies, check it out. It's a women's ministry. We want you to know how to develop your relationship with Christ, how to dig in a little deeper and learn all those goodies that Megan's providing us. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. If you have any questions, please email us at info@theboldmovement.com. I want you to be faithful, be kind, be a good steward. And that means when God asks you to do something, do what He asks you to do and follow that command. Be a good steward for Christ. And I want you to be bold. Don't be afraid to share the love of Christ and what He's done for you in your life. He will never leave you or forsake you. That's right, Paula. Be bold. I will see you guys tomorrow night at 7:30. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Be kind, be faithful, be prayerful, and be bold. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks for tuning in. Be kind to one another. Bye.